of us imagine waking up with billions of dollars means a life of non-stop noise. The yachts, the parties, the constant flash of cameras. But the reality of extreme wealth looks entirely different. It looks like complete silence and control. A century ago, an economist named Thorsten Veblen identified the core behavior of the newly rich, coining a term for it: conspicuous consumption. Veblen realized that a luxury item didn't actually function as a status symbol unless other people could see it. The entire point of buying a mansion or a diamond necklace was to broadcast your financial standing to the rest of society. For a century, net worth was measured by ostentation, creating a direct link between the size of a fortune and the visibility of its displays. But this entire hierarchy rested on a fragile premise. It only worked as long as those physical markers remained exceedingly rare and entirely out of reach for the general public. That scarcity evaporated with the rise of the digital sharing economy. Today, anyone with a smartphone can access luxury rental platforms or use point-of-sale credit to lease a sports car for the weekend or borrow a high-end wardrobe. The physical markers of the upper class are now accessible to the middle class. This democratization peaked with social media. Performing wealth became a career path. Influencers use elite aesthetics to generate views and build attention capital online. The result is status hyperinflation. When the visual markers of wealth become mainstream and easily imitated, they lose their signaling power. For the actual ultra-rich, the value of a flashy logo drops to zero. Faced with a playing field where anyone can look rich, the actual elite stopped trying to outshine everyone else. They abandoned visible luxury altogether and retreated into an entirely new, invisible set of symbols. Sociologist Elizabeth Currid-Halkett observed a shift toward what she calls inconspicuous consumption. The new aspirational class doesn't signify status through expensive jewelry. They signify it through investments in knowledge and life chances. Instead of buying things, they buy advantages. The capital flows into elite private education, top-tier health insurance, and invisible labor, nannies, gardeners, and housekeepers who silently manage the logistics of daily life. This chart shows the quantitative scale of the transition. While spending on material luxury goods by the top 1% has remained largely flat, their expenditure on elite education has climbed by 300%. This leads to an ironic kind of camouflage. You now see billionaires wearing unmarked gray t-shirts and socialites carrying scuffed secondhand bags. It is a deliberate signal that they are entirely above the traditional status game. Wealth now serves to insulate the owner from daily friction, turning financial power into the ability to navigate a life scrubbed of common obstacles. The ultimate unfakeable resource in the modern era is absolute control over your own time. Wealthy individuals actively avoid decision fatigue. They hire vast teams of assistants and managers not to look important, but to handle mundane choices. Preserving mental energy for high-stakes decisions requires delegating the small ones. Extreme assets like private jets function as mobile isolation chambers, allowing owners to bypass the friction of airport crowds and deteriorating public infrastructure entirely. If you look at a billionaire's calendar, it is often surprisingly empty. Their wealth doesn't come from working longer hours. It comes from having the leverage to trade money for time, rather than trading time for money. At the highest levels, money is no longer an instrument for acquisition. It is the tool to buy back the freedom to be completely unreachable. There is also a hidden psychological burden to extreme wealth. Psychologists call it the acquirer's dilemma, the arduous process of trying to integrate a massive new fortune into a pre-existing personal identity. When basic survival and financial ambition are no longer required to sustain your life, a profound crisis of purpose often sets in. Newly wealthy individuals have to consciously figure out how to structure a life that holds deeper human meaning. This pressure drives wealthy families to physically isolate themselves behind gated estates and exclusive schools. It acts as a survival mechanism designed to protect them and their heirs from exploitation, deep suspicion, and social friction. For many, the path to resolving this isolation involves shifting focus toward philanthropy and social purpose. Committing to community service and altruism provides a new direction and helps justify the presence of the fortune in their lives. Inconspicuousness serves as a vital psychological defense, mitigating the isolation and distrust that typically follow public displays of wealth. The internet economy has made it incredibly easy to rent a sports car and post a curated lifestyle online. But you cannot hack the reality of true autonomy. You can fake a designer bag. You cannot fake an empty calendar, 10 hours of uninterrupted sleep, or absolute control over your space. The status game became invisible because the ultimate luxury has shifted toward autonomy, the hard-won freedom to ignore the crowd entirely.